Captain Ethan Hayes leaned forward in his chair aboard the bridge of the interstellar envoy, his gaze fixed on the vast expanse of space ahead. Today marked a monumental day in human history. First contact with an extraterrestrial civilization known as the Zelleran. Ethan's seasoned crew consisted of First Officer Jack Thompson, a competent and reliable man who had served with Ethan for over a decade, and Communications Officer Alex Martinez, whose skills would soon prove crucial. "Captain, we are now within communication range of the Zelleran vessel," Alex reported, his voice laced with anticipation. Ethan nodded. "Open a channel, Alex. Let's see if we can make history today." Alex adjusted his console, and a moment later the view screen flickered to life, revealing the image of Zirin, the Zelleran leader. Zirin's appearance was striking: smooth blue skin, large, almond-shaped silver eyes, and a calm demeanor that immediately put the human crew at ease. "Greetings from Earth. I am Captain Ethan Hayes," Ethan began, his voice steady and welcoming. "We come in peace, hoping to learn from each other and share our cultures." Zirin's voice, when he spoke, was deep and melodic. "Welcome, Captain Hayes. I am Zirin. Your journey here speaks volumes of your courage and curiosity. We welcome you and your crew." Ethan smiled, turning to Jack with a nod. "Thank you, Zirin. We are eager to begin this exchange. May we meet in person to discuss our intentions more formally?" "Indeed, that would be most beneficial. I will prepare to receive you and your delegates aboard our ship," Zirin responded, his eyes reflecting a sincere interest. Ethan stood, signaling to Jack and Alex. "Prepare a delegation. Jack, you're with me. Alex, manage communications from here." As Ethan and Jack prepared to transport to the Zelleran ship, Ethan reviewed the mission protocol. Their small delegation included Dr. Simon Lee, the chief cultural liaison, whose understanding of alien psychology would be invaluable. Once aboard the Zelleran vessel, they were greeted by Zirin and his advisors in a grand hall that showcased the artistry of Zelleran architecture, with its sweeping curves and vibrant colors that seemed to pulse gently with light. Zirin led them through a series of discussions about their respective societies. Ethan listened intently as Zirin explained the principles of Zelleran governance and societal norms, finding parallels and contrasts to human civilization. "Zirin, we have brought information about Earth's traditions, history, and our hopes for this relationship," Dr. Lee interjected, handing over a digital archive loaded with human cultural treasures. Zirin accepted the archive, his expression one of gratitude. "This is a generous gift. We too have much to share. Our histories are different, yet I believe our spirits are alike." As the meeting drew to a close, Zirin invited Ethan and his team to a ceremonial meal, a gesture of goodwill. "Let us dine together. Food is a universal language, perhaps the most honest form of dialogue." Back on the interstellar envoy, Ethan debriefed with his crew. "Today we took our first step towards something greater than any of us. Let's ensure it's not our last." Jack smiled, clapping Ethan on the back. "A historic day, Captain. Here's to many more." As they orbited the alien planet, Ethan looked out into space, a sense of accomplishment mingling with the weight of responsibility. They were not just explorers anymore. They were pioneers of a new frontier in human-alien relations. The following day aboard the Zelleran vessel, the atmosphere was charged with a mixture of curiosity and excitement. Captain Ethan Hayes and his delegation were escorted into a large circular room adorned with intricate murals depicting the Zellerans' rich history and their explorations of the cosmos. The room buzzed with members of both species eager to bridge the gap between their worlds. Dr. Simon Lee, the cultural liaison, stood beside Ethan, observing the interactions with keen interest. "This is a pivotal moment, Captain," he whispered. "Every gesture, every word we exchange will set the tone for future relations." Ethan nodded, his eyes scanning the room. "Let's make sure those words foster understanding and friendship." As they approached the center of the room, Zirin, accompanied by his chief advisor, Rylak, greeted them warmly. "Captain Hayes, today we share with you the essence of Zellora. We hope that in learning about us, a deeper bond will be formed." The first presentation was by the Zelleran scientists. They showcased their advancements in technology, particularly in sustainable energy and space travel, which rivaled and in some cases surpassed human achievements. Ethan was impressed, and his team took copious notes, already seeing the potential for collaborative projects. Following the technical demonstrations, Rylak introduced a segment on Zelleran art and music. The melodies were hauntingly beautiful, evoking a sense of peace and a profound connection to the universe. The art was abstract, with flowing lines and vibrant colors that seemed to tell stories of their own. "It's fascinating," Dr. Lee commented, recording the event. "Their art reflects their philosophy of life, harmony and fluidity in all things." As the day progressed, it was Earth's turn to share. Ethan stepped forward, presenting images and videos of Earth's natural wonders, from the blue depths of the ocean to the vast arid deserts and lush forests teeming with life. He talked about Earth's diverse cultures and languages, the challenges of managing a planet with such varied life, and the beauty found in its complexity. Then, to lighten the mood, he introduced the concept of global festivities, focusing on cultural holidays and their significance. And now, let me share a lighter part of our culture: our holidays and festivals. One of the most beloved figures in many of our traditions is Santa Claus, a mythical figure associated with generosity and joy. The Zelleran audience listened intently, intrigued by the idea of a character who transcended mere myth to influence real-world actions and feelings. Ethan described the tradition of gift-giving, the symbolic meaning of Santa Claus in fostering goodwill, and how children around the world awaited his arrival with eager anticipation each year. Rilak, intrigued, leaned in. "This Santa Claus monitors behavior and rewards goodness? An interesting system of promoting moral conduct." Ethan chuckled. "It's more of a playful tradition for children, but yes, in a way it does promote good behavior, though it's all in good spirit." As the day drew to a close, Zirin expressed his gratitude. "Today has been enlightening. Understanding Earth's Santa Claus gives us insight into human values, kindness, generosity, and the joy of giving. We are eager to learn more." Ethan smiled, pleased with the successful exchange. "And we are just as eager to learn from you, Zirin. Let's continue to build on this foundation." As the two leaders shook hands, the seeds of a deep and meaningful alliance were sown, promising a future where both humans and Zelleran could thrive together. After the cultural exchange, Captain Ethan Hayes and his crew returned to the interstellar envoy, their spirits high from the successful interactions. However, as the distance between the two ships grew, so too did a growing misunderstanding among the Zelleran about the tales of Santa Claus. Aboard the Zelleran vessel, a worried group of leaders, including Zirin and his advisor Rilak, gathered in a secure conference room. The story of Santa Claus, initially a quaint human tradition, had taken on a sinister tone in the retelling. "Zirin, this Santa Claus, he watches all, knowing each action, judging the deeds of every child," Rilak expressed, his tone laced with concern. "Such surveillance speaks of a society that tolerates constant oversight, possibly even control." Zirin's brow furrowed. "And he enters homes uninvited, delivering gifts as a reward for good behavior. This is no mere myth. It could be a metaphor for their governance, a way to encourage compliance through surveillance and reward." The misunderstanding spiraled as the conversation continued, fueled by a lack of context and the natural fear of the unknown. The notion of Santa Claus was distorted into a figure of authority and control, embodying a dystopian overseer rather than a benevolent gift-giver. Back on Earth, unaware of the growing concern among the Zelleran, Ethan briefed his superiors about the progress made. He highlighted the mutual interest in technology and culture, optimistic about the future. However, a priority transmission from the Zelleran interrupted the meeting, its tone starkly different from previous communications. Zirin appeared on screen, visibly tense. "Captain Hayes, our council has deliberated extensively. The presence of a figure like Santa Claus in your society gives us grave concerns about the implications of our alliance. We fear we may inadvertently expose our people to a system of control that we cannot accept." Ethan was taken aback, the shift in tone and the concern palpable. "Zirin, I think there's been a significant misunderstanding. Santa Claus is a mythical figure, part of a festive tradition for children. There is no surveillance or control implied. It's a story of giving and kindness." Zirin sighed deeply. "We wish to believe you, Captain, but the fear has taken root. We must reconsider our stance on this alliance until we fully understand the implications of your customs." The communication ended abruptly, leaving Ethan and his team in dismay. The lighthearted story meant to share cultural warmth had inadvertently sown seeds of doubt and fear. Determined to resolve the misunderstanding, Ethan convened his senior officers. "We need to clarify this misinterpretation. Santa Claus is not a symbol of control, but one of joy and generosity. We need to convey this effectively." Dr. Lee suggested, "Perhaps a demonstration of the tradition might help. Seeing the joyful aspect of the celebration could dispel their fears." Jack nodded in agreement. We need to act fast. This misunderstanding could escalate into a larger conflict if not addressed. The team set to work, planning a way to invite the Zelleran to witness a simulated Christmas celebration, hoping to showcase the true spirit of the holiday and to dispel the growing fears. The success of their mission now hinged on their ability to communicate the essence of a tradition so familiar to them, yet so alien to their new friends. Captain Ethan Hayes felt the weight of the situation as he sat at the head of the conference table aboard the interstellar envoy. The room was filled with his top advisors and specialists, each wearing expressions of concern and confusion over the unfolding crisis with the Zelleran. "Okay, let's focus on solutions," Ethan said, scanning the room. "The Zelleran have misinterpreted our description of Santa Claus, seeing it as a symbol of surveillance and control. This could not only halt our progress, but potentially lead to hostility." First Officer Jack Thompson leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "The urgency here is to communicate our intentions clearly. We need to break down the cultural barriers and rectify this misunderstanding before it escalates further." Dr. Simon Lee, the cultural liaison, added, "Our explanations haven't been sufficient. Perhaps we need to show, not just tell. Demonstrating the harmless nature of our traditions could be more effective." Ethan nodded. "Exactly. We'll invite Zirin and his advisors to join us for a Christmas celebration. They need to experience the tradition firsthand to see the joy and camaraderie it brings." Communications Officer Alex Martinez raised a practical concern. "The invitation needs to be crafted carefully. It should convey our respect for their feelings and an earnest invitation to learn more about us without any pressure." Ethan agreed. "Alex, draft the invitation. Emphasize our desire for mutual understanding and respect for their culture." As Alex set to work on the communication, Ethan continued the strategy discussion with the rest of the team. They planned every detail of the Christmas celebration, from decorations and gift-giving to the inclusion of typical Earth games and songs that embodied the spirit of the season. Meanwhile, aboard the Zelleran vessel, Zirin faced his own council. The fear of Earth's supposed surveillance symbol had sparked a defensive posture among his people. The council debated fiercely about whether to accept the Earthlings' invitation, with some advisors cautioning against further interaction. Zirin, however, remained thoughtful. "We might have misunderstood their traditions," he suggested. "This invitation could be an opportunity to clarify things, to see their society's nature for ourselves." Back on Earth, Ethan received the confirmation that Zirin and his advisors would attend the Christmas celebration. He felt a mix of relief and pressure. This event had to go perfectly. It was not just a festive gathering, but a diplomatic mission crucial to the future relations between humans and Zelleran. The day of the celebration arrived, and the interstellar envoy was festively adorned. Lights twinkled along the corridors, a Christmas tree stood decorated in the main hall, and human crew members wore bright smiles and festive attire. Zirin and his delegation arrived, visibly tense but curious. Ethan greeted them warmly, guiding them through the ship's decorated halls. "Welcome, friends. Tonight is about sharing a cherished part of our culture with you. We hope you enjoy and see the joy it brings us." As the evening progressed, Zirin and his advisors observed families connecting, children laughing, and crew members exchanging gifts in good spirits. Music filled the air, and laughter echoed through the hall. The depiction of Santa Claus as a jolly, benevolent figure slowly unfolded before the Zelleran guests through songs and stories shared by the crew. Seeing the celebration in action, Zirin began to understand the misconception. The sense of community and happiness was palpable, and it was clear that there was no undercurrent of surveillance or control, only tradition and celebration. As the event drew to a close, Zirin approached Ethan, a slight smile breaking through his earlier reserve. "Captain Hayes, this evening has been most enlightening. We see now the joy and simplicity in your tradition. It appears we have much to learn about interpreting each other's customs." Ethan clasped Zirin's hand, relieved. "Indeed, Zirin. Let's continue to learn from each other with openness and friendship." The successful event marked a turning point in human-Zelleran relations, easing the tensions and paving the way for deeper understanding and cooperation. Despite the successful Christmas celebration and the apparent thawing of relations, the seeds of doubt planted among the broader Zelleran population had taken root more deeply than Captain Ethan Hayes and his crew had anticipated. The misinterpretations and fears regarding human traditions, particularly the tale of Santa Claus, persisted and were exacerbated by fringe groups on Zellora who viewed any interaction with humans as a threat to their sovereignty. In the weeks following the celebration, Ethan received troubling intelligence reports. These indicated that various Zaloran factions were rallying against the Alliance, stirred up by propaganda that twisted the concept of Santa Claus into a symbol of human deceit and manipulation. The reports detailed how these factions were gaining political power, pushing Zirin's administration into a corner. "Ethan, we're seeing a significant shift in public opinion on Zalora," reported Alex Martinez during a high-stakes strategy meeting. "It's not just fear anymore, it's becoming hostile. They're preparing for what looks like defensive measures against us." Jack Thompson looked grim. "It sounds like they're gearing up for more than just political opposition. We might be looking at a military buildup. We need to prepare for the worst, while hoping for the best." Ethan rubbed his temples, feeling the pressure mounting. "All right, let's get a message to Zirin. We need to express our concerns about this escalation and request an urgent meeting. We have to convince them that there's no threat." However, the communication channels that had once been open and frequent now grew cold. Zirin's responses were delayed and terse, an indication of the growing influence of the anti-human factions within his government. The situation deteriorated rapidly. Within days, what had begun as a cultural misunderstanding escalated into an outright conflict. The Zaloran military, influenced by the hardline factions, launched a preemptive strike against a human outpost on the edge of the solar system, mistaking a routine supply transfer as a buildup for invasion. The attack resulted in significant human casualties and a wave of outrage across Earth. Ethan, now back on Earth and coordinating the defense efforts, faced the grim reality of war. "This isn't what we wanted," Ethan declared in a meeting with Earth's Unified Defense Council. "But we have to defend ourselves. We'll respond proportionately and keep open a channel for dialogue. We have to believe that Zirin and those who know the truth about us will regain control and come back to the table." Jack coordinated the fleet's movements, ensuring that Earth's response was measured but firm, aimed at defending against further Zaloran aggression without escalating the conflict further. Amid the chaos, a small glimmer of hope emerged. Zirin, struggling against the political tide on Zalora, managed to send a covert message to Ethan. He expressed his regret and his hope that a diplomatic resolution could still be found. He also revealed the extent of the misinformation campaign that had poisoned his people's perceptions. Armed with this information, Ethan devised a new strategy. He decided to capture, rather than destroy, the next Zaloran ship that engaged Earth forces, hoping to initiate a high-stakes dialogue directly with the captured crew, to demonstrate once again that humans were not the enemy. The risky plan went into action during the next skirmish. Ethan personally led the mission aboard the Interstellar Envoy, using non-lethal tactics to disable and board a Zaloran cruiser. The operation was tense, fraught with the possibility of misunderstanding and further bloodshed. Once aboard the Zaloran ship, Ethan and his team quickly secured the bridge, capturing the ship's commander, a high-ranking but moderate Zaloran officer who had been skeptical of the war. "Listen carefully," Ethan said to the commander, his voice steady but forceful. "We don't want this war. We never did. Your leader knows the truth about us. Let us show you who we are, not the monsters your propaganda has made us out to be." With the Zaloran commander as their unexpected guest, Ethan prepared to make his case, hoping that this bold move might finally turn the tide and bring an end to the conflict. Aboard the Interstellar Envoy, tension was palpable, as Captain Ethan Hayes and his team held the captured Zaloran commander, General Zorak, in a secure conference room. The general, a figure of authority and respect among his people, was visibly unsettled, his eyes darting around the room, taking in the faces of his captors. Ethan, aware of the delicacy of the situation, began the dialogue with a tone of respect and urgency. "General Zorak, I regret that our first meeting occurs under these circumstances, but it's crucial that we speak openly now. We must find a way to end this conflict that neither of our peoples truly wants." General Zorak, his posture stiff with caution, responded warily. "Your actions speak loudly, Captain Hayes. You claim peace, yet capture me in battle. How am I to trust your words?" Ethan nodded, acknowledging the contradiction. "I understand your skepticism, General. Our intention was not to escalate the war, but to pause the fighting long enough to talk, directly and honestly. We've been trapped in a cycle of misunderstanding and misinformation." Jack Thompson chimed in, his voice steady. "General, the story of Santa Claus, which has caused so much fear among your people, was never meant to be a tool of surveillance or control. It's a children's tale, promoting goodwill and the spirit of giving." Dr. Simon Lee, who who had joined the conversation, added a psychological perspective. General, cultural myths often reflect deeper values. Santa Claus embodies hope and generosity. In misunderstanding this, we see how quickly fear can distort our perceptions. General Zorak listened, his expression softening slightly as he processed the information. Your words are compelling, but they conflict with what we have been told. We were led to believe that Santa Claus was a symbol of your intent to monitor and control. Ethan leaned forward, earnest in his plea. What we need is a chance to show you the truth. Perhaps you could witness our customs firsthand. Or better yet, allow us to help you verify the claims independently. We have nothing to hide. The general considered this for a long moment, the weight of decision clearly pressing upon him. Finally, he spoke. I will consider your offer, Captain. It is not my decision alone to make, but I will advocate for a truce temporarily to allow for this investigation. With that tentative agreement in place, Ethan and his team worked quickly to arrange a demonstration of Earth's holiday traditions for the Zelleran delegates. They set up a small, simulated Christmas event aboard the Envoy, complete with decorations, gift exchanges, and videos of Earth celebrations. When the Zelleran delegates arrived, led by General Zorak, who had agreed to observe, the atmosphere was tense but hopeful. Ethan greeted them warmly, guiding them through the displays and explaining each element. As the Zellorans watched children on video laughing and families coming together in peace and joy, their demeanor changed. The stories of Santa Claus monitoring and judging, once so menacing, now appeared in a different light, a symbolic figure meant to inspire and celebrate the best of human values. General Zorak, moved by the genuine displays of affection and community, turned to Ethan. I begin to see the misunderstanding. Such joy. This is not the mark of oppression. Encouraged by the shift in atmosphere, Ethan proposed a broader cultural exchange program. Let's continue this beyond today. Let us visit each other's worlds, not as soldiers, but as learners. Understanding each other's cultures deeply might be the key to lasting peace. As the delegates departed, there was a sense of cautious optimism. The battle for understanding was far from over, but for the first time since the conflict began, there was a real hope that peace might be achievable through empathy and dialogue, rather than war. After the successful cultural demonstration aboard the interstellar envoy, a temporary ceasefire took hold between Earth and Zellora. Captain Ethan Hayes and his team continued their efforts to solidify this fragile peace through further exchanges and demonstrations of good faith. Both sides were cautiously optimistic but aware of the delicate nature of their truce. Ethan convened a meeting with his top advisors to strategize the next steps. We've made significant progress, he began, addressing the room where Jack Thompson, Dr. Simon Lee, and other key figures were gathered. But this peace is tentative at best. We need to deepen our engagement and build real understanding. Jack nodded in agreement. We should propose a series of joint missions. Maybe some scientific collaborations that could benefit both our peoples. Show them that working together brings mutual benefits that go beyond cultural understanding. Dr. Lee added, and perhaps more cultural exchanges, not just big demonstrations but smaller, more personal interactions. Invite Zelleran families to visit Earth. Let them see firsthand how we live, not just how we celebrate. Ethan appreciated the suggestions. Excellent ideas both. Let's draft some proposals and send them to Zirin and his council. We need to keep this momentum going. Meanwhile, on Zellora, General Zorak had become an unlikely advocate for peace with Earth. His first-hand experience with the human traditions and the genuine efforts made by the humans to clear up misunderstandings had significantly changed his perspective. He spoke before the Zelleran Council, passionately recounting his experiences and urging his peers to consider the benefits of a sustained peace. The humans have shown us their true nature, not through words, but through actions, Zorak told the assembly. We have much to gain from a partnership with Earth. Let us not be blinded by past fears, but look forward to future possibilities. Back on Earth, the proposals for joint missions and cultural visits were well received by the Zelleran leadership. Plans were made for the first group of Zelleran scientists to join human counterparts in a collaborative research project studying environmental conservation, a field of mutual interest and urgent need. As the first Zelleran families visited Earth, they were hosted by human families who showed them the diversity of life and culture on the planet. Children played together, learning each other's games, while adults shared stories and meals, finding common ground in their hopes and dreams for their families. News of these interactions spread, and public opinion on both planets began to shift. The media covered the stories extensively, highlighting the personal connections being made and the collaborative efforts underway. In a gesture of goodwill, and in recognition of the new friendship between their species, Ethan invited Zirin to attend Earth's next Christmas celebration, this time on Earth itself. Zirin accepted, and the event was planned with a spirit of celebration and a new sense of community. The celebration was broadcast across both worlds, showcasing speeches, cultural performances, and joint declarations of ongoing cooperation. Ethan and Zirin stood together, addressing the combined populations of their worlds. "Today, we stand together not as representatives of different worlds, but as friends," Ethan declared, with Zirin nodding in agreement beside him. "We have learned much from each other, about each other, and we look forward to a future where we continue to grow together." The broadcast concluded with scenes of Earth and Zelleran children singing a song they had learned during the cultural visits, a simple melody, yet a profound symbol of their shared hopes for peace. The fragile peace had begun to solidify, supported not just by treaties and agreements, but by genuine friendships and mutual respect. The road ahead remained long and uncertain, but for the first time in their shared history, humans and Zelleran moved forward together, bound by a desire for peace and understanding. In the wake of the successful Christmas celebration and the widespread positive response from both human and Zelleran populations, a new era dawned for Earth and Zalora. The fragile peace that had begun with tentative steps was now blossoming into a robust partnership. Captain Ethan Hayes found himself at the forefront of this burgeoning alliance, tasked with steering the joint efforts towards lasting success. At the newly established Interplanetary Relations headquarters on Earth, Ethan met with Zirin and a mixed delegation of human and Zelleran officials. They were gathered to outline the future framework for cooperation, focusing on areas like technological exchange, educational programs, and joint exploration missions. "Zirin, it's been an incredible journey," Ethan began, addressing the room. "From misunderstanding and conflict to cooperation and friendship. Today we lay the groundwork for not just a peaceful coexistence, but a thriving partnership." Zirin responded with a warm smile, his earlier reservations replaced by a confident optimism. "Indeed, Captain Hayes, we have seen that our differences, once a source of fear, are now strengths that unite us. We are ready to learn from each other and grow together." The meeting progressed with discussions on various initiatives. One key proposal was the establishment of a joint educational platform where Zelleran and human children could learn about each other's worlds from a young age, fostering a deep-rooted understanding and respect for both cultures. Dr. Simon Lee, now appointed as the Director of Cultural Integration, detailed the educational initiative. "We envision a curriculum that includes language immersion, cultural history, and collaborative projects that highlight our common goals, like sustainability and space exploration." Another significant focus was on the collaborative science missions. Human and Zelleran scientists were planning a joint venture to a newly discovered star system, believed to be rich in resources and potentially habitable planets. Jack Thompson, promoted to Commander of Interstellar Operations, outlined the mission's objectives. "This mission isn't just about exploration, it's about demonstrating that together we can achieve more than either of us could alone. It's a symbol of our partnership." As the plans took shape, Ethan and Zirin scheduled a series of public addresses and appearances on both Earth and Zalora. Their goal was to keep the populations of both planets informed and involved, ensuring that the partnership had widespread support. The first of these missions, dubbed Horizon Unity, launched with fanfare and public celebration. A spacecraft carrying both human and Zaloran crews departed amidst cheers and tears, a tangible manifestation of their shared future. The success of these endeavors led to the establishment of an annual Unity Day, celebrated on both planets as a holiday to honor the partnership and the peace it had brought. Each year, the celebrations included exchanges of art, music, and culinary traditions, which became highly anticipated events that deepened the cultural bonds. Years later, as an older Captain Ethan Hayes attended a Unity Day celebration, he reflected on the journey from those tense first encounters to the rich partnership that flourished. Standing beside Zirin, watching their grandchildren, humans and Zalorans alike, playing together, Ethan felt a profound sense of accomplishment. "We did well, Zirin," Ethan said, his voice tinged with emotion. "We did, my friend," Zirin agreed, his eyes on the playing children. "We built this bridge between our worlds, not for us, but for them." As the sun set on the celebration, the music of a combined human Zellerin orchestra filled the air, a beautiful harmony that once seemed impossible. It was a fitting soundtrack for a world where once unthinkable friendships had become the pillars of a thriving interstellar community. The story of their partnership, once marked by conflict and misunderstanding, had evolved into a tale of unity and shared destiny, a true testament to the power of empathy and cooperation.